KSBY News starts right now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for KSBY News at 11. I'm Amanda Starrantino. The search for a missing boater out of Santa Barbara has now been suspended as of 8 this morning after the Coast Guard had been looking for the man for nearly 16 hours. Searches were conducted throughout the night as well as a first light search this morning where they found no sight of the missing man. The Coast Guard has since placed the case on active suspension until further information. The Coast Guard says it received the first report of a distress signal for the vessel yesterday afternoon. The missing person is reported to be wearing a black shirt, black pants, and did not have a life jacket. Well, a portable generator that spilled gas within a detached garage is now determined by fire investigators as the cause to an early morning fire in Lompoc. Lompoc fire crews with assistance from the Santa Barbara County Fire Department responded to a report of a fire at the 700th block of North Street just after 6 this morning. Crews arrived on scene quickly and were able to contain the fire to just the garage. There were no victims or injuries. Well, Hillary Clinton tonight won the South Carolina Democratic primary by nearly 3-1 margin over Bernie Sanders as the focus shifts to Super Tuesday. Steve Handelsman has the latest from Columbia, South Carolina.
It's Hillary Clinton by a landslide, claiming South Carolina sets her up for the 12-state fight on Super Tuesday in 3 days.
We are going to compete for every vote in every state. We are not taking anything, and we're not taking anyone for granted.
Only in Bernie Sanders' home state of Vermont is he ahead in polling.
I believe that not only can we win this Democratic nominating process, but we can defeat Trump.
Trump toured Super Tuesday states.
We got to win Arkansas.
Campaigning with Chris Christie.
Get ready now, Tennessee.
The big fight is in Texas, where Ted Cruz takes his stand.
Pick a side. And I'll tell you this, when it comes to picking a side, I picked a side, and I stand against Washington and with the American people.
On paper, Cruz and Marco Rubio can still beat Trump, and their war is nuclear.
A con artist will never get control of this party.
I actually thought that Ted Cruz was a liar, but Rubio is worse.
Hillary Clinton jumped in.
We don't need to make America great again. America has never stopped being great.
Don't build walls, she said, break down barriers. I'm Steve Handelsman, NBC News, Columbia, South Carolina.
In all these early primaries and caucuses, no candidates, including Trump and Clinton, have grabbed a big share of delegates, but that could change. And Bernie Sanders congratulated Hillary Clinton on what he called her very strong victory in the South Carolina Democratic primary. Sanders never set foot in South Carolina Saturday, campaigning in Texas before holding an evening rally in Minnesota. He was in the air as South Carolina's polls closed, and he spoke very briefly to reporters on the tarmac following Clinton's overwhelming victory. Sanders says sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and tonight we lost. But the Vermont senator insisted that he intends to scoop up more delegates in next week's Super Tuesday contest.
Let me just say a brief word. In politics, on a given night, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Tonight we lost. I congratulate Secretary Clinton on her very strong victory. Tuesday, over 800 delegates are at stake, and we intend to win many, many of them. Thank you all very much.
Clinton has now won 3 of the first 4 Democratic contests, with Sanders taking a big victory in New Hampshire. A rookie police officer was shot and killed in Virginia, her first day on the job. Officer Ashley Gwindon was fatally shot while responding to a domestic shooting in Prince William County. Police have the shooter in custody, but the investigation is ongoing. Kids out in the street said they heard the gunshots and ran inside. Officer Gwindon graduated with a bachelor's degree in aeronautics and served in the Marine Corps before joining the police force. She was sworn in on Friday. 2 other officers were also shot at the scene.
I was walking up the street with 3 other people, and we heard 3 to 4 gunshots, so we started running. And then when we got up here, we saw all the cops and we were trying to come home and they told us to go inside. And so we were like, okay, but we tried to come over here and they said, no, go back, go back. So we went into the house next door.
Police tweeted the 2 wounded officers are being treated for their injuries. Their conditions are not yet known. Well, coming up next on KSBY News, it is another warm weekend on the Central Coast, but there are some changes on the way, some that might bring a chance for some rain. We'll have those details in the microclimate forecast.
You're watching KSBY News, the Central Coast's #1 source for local news.
Last Saturday, the public was invited to an open house to share their ideas about how to further develop concepts for downtown San Luis Obispo. And today, there was a workshop to turn these ideas into plans. Members from the Downtown Concept Plan met with the community at the SLO County Library to prioritize the key issues in developing downtown. The organization wants to use this workshop as a way to guide future public project decisions and private growth in the downtown and surrounding areas. The open house included the discussion workshops as well as an online survey.
Our downtown is thriving, so it is more checking in and making sure that we're growing in a way that works for the community.
The concept plan survey will be open on the SLO City website for public input until March 6th. Well, you will be seeing some construction work on fixing up the roadways these next couple of days, so if you drive on Los Osos Valley Road, get ready for ramp and lane closures that will affect your commute. The northbound Highway 101 ramps will be closed tonight for paving preparation and will reopen for the morning commute. Both ramps will again be temporarily closed for final paving tomorrow between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Drivers are encouraged to use Prado Road or South Higuera at Johnson Ranch as a 101 entrance or exit during the closure hours. And there was some tough competition out at the Ducky Derby today, where hundreds of ducks raced down the creek at Mission Plaza, all for a good cause. Cal Poly's Sigma Nu fraternity organized the 7th annual Ducky Derby event, which raises money for Jack's Helping Hand, an organization that supports children who are affected by cancer and other special needs. People could purchase the toy ducks for a minimum of a $5 donation before the event. Each duck had a number on the bottom, and some were decorated with designs and Greek letters.
We wanted to really give back to the SLO community because this is our community event for the year, and so really just wanted to have the community involvement.
The owner of the duck that crossed the finish line first walked away with a brand new surfboard, and the runner-ups received gift cards to Avila Beach Paddle Sports. Well, coming up, temperatures are back in the mid-70s, some areas even seeing the 80s this weekend, but a cool down is around the corner, though. All of those details will come next in the microclimate forecast. And see how a barbecue and a rummage sale in Atascadero will go to a good cause. There was an outpouring of support today for a local 4-year-old battling leukemia in Atascadero. A rummage sale and drive-through barbecue fundraiser by Team Annie Banani supporting Annie Blake drew in hundreds of people. Her parents work as firefighters with the Forest Service and CAL FIRE. Scores of firefighters came by to fill up on pulled pork sandwiches and donate toward Annie's treatment and care.
We've had such a strong showing with our community, our family, our friends, coworkers from multiple agencies, and we just want to say thank you to everyone.
Annie's family says she was diagnosed with lymphoblastic leukemia last year. Her treatment is expected to last more than 2 years. If you'd like to help, visit the Team Annie Banani Facebook page. Well, surf is up at beaches across the state, and the Coast Guard is keeping an eye on the coastline as the dangers of the high surf kick in. And Morro Bay is no exception from the gusty winds and high tides. KSBY's Brooke Martell reports.
With a taste of summer this February weekend, many hit the beaches. But as the tide creeps up along our coastline, so do concerns from many beachgoers I spoke with.
Strong and gusty winds howling through Morro Bay Harbor is no match for even an experienced kayaker.
It took at least a half an hour to come across the waves on the far end of the little island in the middle, and then of course coming in too, rocking pretty good.
The winter season is peak time for these hazardous winds and swell. And Morro Bay Harbor Patrol is watching out for the 20-mile-per-hour winds and waves peaking to 11 feet, creating misleading and often unstable ocean conditions for swimmers.
A lot of people want to surf, recreate in the harbor when the surf's big because the waves look smaller, but there's just as much current and just as many hazards.
The risky conditions kept Cindy Curry from letting her young family from going in the water Saturday.
My nieces and nephews were planning on going out and my son to get seashells and stuff and swim a little bit, but then the came up so high it hit that bank right there.
Morro Bay Harbor Patrol says it's still safe to go to the beach, but to use caution when going into the water. Brooke Martell, KSBY News.
Thanks, Brooke, for that. Well, that's going to take us right into our microclimate forecast. And looking out at the 101 right now, this is a shot at LOVR where those closures are going to be taking place tomorrow. So you might not want to be taking that exit if you are going to be heading into slow tomorrow. But our currents right now, Santa Maria is at 56, San Luis Obispo 56, Paso 53, Lompoc 48, and Santa Barbara at 62. Our winds are fairly calm onshore. We're going to have an offshore by tomorrow. Much different situation. We saw gusts 20 to 25 miles per hour today. But tonight, it's a different story. High temperatures across the nation, 41 in New York, 46 in Washington. Let's move over to California, 66 in Los Angeles, 62 in San Francisco. That's why we live here. But that's because of the high pressure system hanging out over the area, blocking that jet stream from giving us any precipitation, at least for February, which is really uncommon. We're hoping for a rainmaker month. March is looking promising, though, as those low pressure system starts to move in. This is going to be by the Thursday, as you can see. Jet streams starting to push in, giving us a chance for precipitation, which is something we're looking for. But right now, with that low pressure system hanging out over the Pacific, it's giving us really big waves. So if you were out at the beach today, you had to see them crashing in, that tide coming up so high. Waves could near 20 feet. By late next week, though, so something is changing there. That's giving us some advisories, though, something to look out for. You can see all the way down the central coast into south coast as well. High surf advisory into tomorrow morning, 12 to 15-foot waves, max sets up to 18 feet. Precipitation-wise, though, our radar is not showing much. Scattered showers in the Bay Area, Northern California seeing just a bit, but everywhere else, Southern California and the central coast, are not so lucky. But that low pressure system, you can see it coming through, bringing in some cold fronts, and that's what's going to bring our changes come next week, plus some rain potential, as you can see. We're going to keep pushing through this week into next weekend. Our models keep changing, but they are showing at least a little bit of rain for next weekend, so something to look forward to there. Our microclimate forecast, though, with the offshore flow kicking in, it's going to give us some clear skies. A little bit of fog in the morning, but in those, especially in those inland interior areas, but for the most part, clear skies, not a cloud in the sky until the end of the week. Microclimates for Sunday, it's going to be a beautiful day on the central coast, 75 in Santa Barbara, and starting down in our south coast, those interior areas, Kiama, it's going to be 71 cooler than 80 in Santa Ynez and Solvang, 73 in Vandenberg. Those lows staying in those 40s and 50s, though, for the most part. Interior is still fairly cooler. Along the coast, though, Pismo, 75 tomorrow, 75 in Avila, Cayucas, 71. Great day to head outside. Quick look at our 5-day forecast before we have to go. A little bit of clouds on your Sunday, but you can see that boost to start off the week. Clouds kicking in at the end of the week with a dramatic cool down. You'll see right here in San Luis Obispo, starting off at 80 on Monday, cooling all the way down into the 60s, also with a chance of rain by the end of the week. All right, still ahead, the blue-green rivalry is renewed at Mott. Travis Clark will have that and more next in sports.
And 40 passing yards. And I don't know if that's accurate. Let's get a fact check. It's accurate. 71,940 yards.
We're good.
Nice.
But barely any. All right, well, one way to retire, I guess. Well, thank you, Travis. Coming up after the break, one school gets a big surprise. A local man turns 100 today as well. Find out all the work that he has done for the Central Coast.